Imagine this, a massive, shirtless warrior, foaming at the mouth, covered in blood, screaming like a demon in a storm. Sounds epic, right? Think again. This is what Hollywood wants you to see. Berserkers as Norse superheroes, invincible, unstoppable, mythical. From metal bands to comics to action figures, berserkers have been turned into gods of war. But the reality? Far messier and way more tragic. Because behind the legend was a tortured soul, a man on the edge of madness, built to fight, programmed to die. Even among Vikings, these guys weren't respected. They were feared. They were weapons, not comrades. They weren't invincible. They were unstable, unpredictable, and often uncontrollable. So let's set the record straight. This is why it really sucked to be a Viking berserker. Our story starts in the cold, unforgiving North Scandinavia, land of harsh winters, hard people, and gods that demanded blood. In Viking culture, strength wasn't just admired, it was sacred. And the god Odin, he was the top dog, the god of wisdom, death, and madness. Berserkers, literally bear shirts, believed they channeled animal spirits, bears, wolves, wild beasts. These weren't nicknames. They believed they became those creatures. Rituals were intense. Blood sacrifices, chants, and potions brewed from mushrooms and herbs, possibly even poison. A circle of warriors around a fire, chanting, howling, slamming fists into chests, then silence. And then the screaming started. The transformation had begun. Some were chosen young, boys who showed violent tendencies. Others volunteered, outcasts, drunks, criminals. Villagers feared them even before they became berserkers. Kids whispered that they saw dead things, heard voices. One old seer was said to tap boys on the forehead and whisper, "This one hears the wolf." Training wasn't done in barracks. It happened in caves, in forests, in snow, alone, starved, beaten, deprived of sleep for days. They were broken, then rebuilt through pain. Their minds were shattered to unleash something primal, not skill, savagery. They came the potions, herbal brews, possibly containing henbane, fly agaric, or nightshade. The results? Convulsions, vomiting, hallucinations. They said the gods sent visions, wolves, flames, the end of the world. One trainee stared into a frozen lake and swore his reflection grinned back with bare's teeth. Then the final rite, branding, self-mutilation, and bloodletting. They howled into the night until they collapsed. Back at camp, even hardened Vikings looked away. They knew what these men were becoming. At night, berserkers were chained while they slept. Just in case. Some never slept. Ever. Afraid of what they'd see or what they'd do. One warrior said he dreamed of fire every night, and he was always the one starting it. They whispered to the dead, saw faces in trees, heard screams in silence. Then came battle, the one place they belonged, the only place they were understood. Before the rest of the army advanced, berserkers ran in alone, naked, painted, screaming. They didn't feel pain or fear. They were rage personified. One took an axe to the ribs and kept running. Didn't even blink. But that rage had no off switch. They often killed their own, and when the battle ended, they were alone. Shaking, bleeding, not sure if they had won or just survived. After a battle, berserkers weren't celebrated. They were avoided. Too dangerous, too unstable. Some were killed by their own leaders, quietly, a dagger in the night, a poisoned drink. Others were banished, left to wander alone through forests and frozen wastes. The Berserker trance, called Berserker Gang, had brutal after effects: paralysis, blindness, temporary insanity. One saga tells of a man who couldn't move for days. His eyes bled, his hands trembled like leaves. Some tried to live normal lives afterward, marry, farm, raise kids, but they couldn't escape the rage. They woke up screaming, or didn't wake up at all. One story says a berserker slaughtered his own family during a dream. Villages created laws to control them. Some were forced to wear chains in public. A few worked as bodyguards for kings until they snapped. One king was nearly beheaded by his own berserker mid-feast, over spilled mead. The Christianization of Scandinavia changed everything. Berserkers were branded heretics, monsters, demonic. Priests said their powers came from the devil, not Odin. Some were hunted down, executed, burned. Others fled into exile, hiding in caves and remote islands. The brotherhoods faded, the rites were lost, but their legacy never died. Even centuries later, warriors claimed to go berserk in battle. The term survived. The truth didn't. Modern scholars debate what caused the berserker rage: drugs, mental illness, mass hypnosis, PTSD. Whatever the cause, the suffering was real. They weren't fearless. They were broken. Not heroes, not villains. Just men caught in a storm they couldn't escape. Imagine feeling rage so deep it becomes your only identity. No joy, no peace, just fire. Even your comrades don't see you as human. You're a beast, a tool, a curse in a man's skin. That's why berserkers died young. If battle didn't take them, madness did. Their minds eroded by years of violence, nightmares, and trauma. One legend speaks of a lone berserker who walked into the sea, armor on, axe in hand, never came back. They weren't chasing glory, they were running from pain. In the end, berserkers were not symbols of strength, but of sacrifice. Berserkers were not gave up everything: family, sanity, life, for a war that never ended. So next time you hear someone say, "Go berserk," remember the price paid by the ones who truly did. Love brutal history? Tell us what shocked you most. Like the video, subscribe for more dark history,